Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, B&B fam. This podcast is sponsored to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is there something getting in the way of your happiness? I know when I traveled the world, I had many days where BetterHelp's worldwide service of licensed professional therapists could have helped me speak to someone no matter where I was in the world about whatever was happening with my life, and with zero judgment. With their ability to match me with a therapist that best fits me, I know my mental health would have been way better back then. Believe me, I needed it. But I'm here to share a way for you to take back control of your mental health by telling you about BetterHelp's awesome services they have for you to talk with a pro about your life through their app or just online. Whether it is a video session or some simple messaging, their team is here to help. I went to check out the app for myself just to see how easy it was to use, and after a series of questions, I was told I would be able to start matching with a therapist in under 48 hours. And what is super rad is that it's affordable and they even offer financial aid too. So come join the 2 million users that have already been helped and gain back control of your mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/backyards for 10% off your first month. Remember, BetterHelp is therapy done securely online. Don't forget to use the special code BACKYARDS and let BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, help you to start living a happier life today. Good afternoon.
Hi, everybody.
Backyards and Bevvies.
Yeah, welcome to Backyards and Bevvies.
Yeah, welcome. We are full tilt spring.
We are. It's beautiful.
It is in the air. Love is in the air.
So is pollen.
So is this new coffee drink from
Yes.
Good Citizen Coffee Co.
So yummy. It's local to Nashville.
It is. It's delicious. I don't drink any hot beverages.
I don't like hot coffee.
I'm not a
It always
hot
tastes burned to me.
coffee person. I'm not a hot tea person. I'm not a hot cocoa person. I'm like a lukewarm cocoa person.
Mm-hmm. A lukewarm cocoa. That just does not sound delicious, but okay.
I mean, doesn't sound bad though.
I mean, hot cocoa is supposed to be hot. Literally, the word hot is in the name.
I just don't like burning my tongue.
I mean, it doesn't have to be scalding.
So hot.
Yeah, just hot.
What do you think? Well, okay, like, so we won't spend too much time here, but like hot coffee, right, is like 120 plus degrees.
I don't have any idea.
I think it is. When it comes out of the Starbucks little window,
Mm-hmm.
and that person hands it to you.
I mean, you can't drink it for like an hour.
Okay, so then hot cocoa, right?
Mm-hmm.
What temperature is suitable for your palate?
I don't
So if you
know.
won't drink hot coffee at 120 degrees, and that's probably low, to be honest. I think that's like probably more like scorch the earth 140.
I don't know. That's why I stick to cold brew, so it doesn't matter.
No, but you just...
But lukewarm cocoa just doesn't sound good. It at least
Well,
needs to be like warmish hot.
that's why they don't sell it as lukewarm cocoa. Come get your lukewarm cocoa over here.
Well,
at
that's
the
what you
stand.
said you preferred.
Because that's probably more what everybody drinks it at, is like a lukewarm to above average warm.
I guess. I digress. So we're drinking this delicious canned coffee, and it's awesome.
It is. It's cold. It was shaken very well this time. The first one we didn't shake, I don't think.
Yes.
But I didn't try this one, so
It's yummy.
Gonna say it's vegan. It's ethically sourced vegan flash brewed.
Mm-hmm. And you have which
So the
flavor right there?
The flash brews this one.
The flash brews that one.
This is a chocolate nitro coffee.
Nice. And mine is oat milk nitro iced coffee, and it's actually made with Oatly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yummy.
cane sugar. Normally I'm not a big chocolate thingies, but this is pretty dang good.
Yeah.
So if you're in Nashville and you're looking for a good brew, I'm sure you can get these online. A friend of ours at church gave these to us. He's been a
delicious.
coffee roaster for many years. And
Yeah.
we ended up chatting, and he said, well, let me get you some.
Let me get you some coffee, and we will take it.
Yeah, pretty good.
So
yeah, we are on to an episode about the brain. Like
Yes.
for the last 3 years, but the last 2 years that we've been doing this podcast. Oh, by the way, we hit 30,000 downloads the other day.
So awesome. Thank you, everybody.
So in 2 years, we've been doing pretty good. Actually, under
less
2
than
years.
2 years,
Yeah.
like a year and a half.
But we've been on this journey, and though I don't think we actually have a destination to this podcast,
Just a journey.
When something comes up and we find it kind of cool, we talk about it, whether it be car racing or soccer or football, footy ball. We've been talking about it, and one of the things that I have personally been on, and I've been sharing a lot with our listeners, is my mental journey. And with that, you really have to dive deep. I don't think that anything that deals with the brain is really surface level.
Agree.
Like
and you're talking about your mental health journey?
Yeah. Well, like, one of the episodes many moons ago, we said that we were going to work on like 4 things: physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And I think some of those are just in your brain or in your subconscious or in your soul, however you want to describe it, right? But recently, I had went to a lunch with a good friend, and I was chatting to him about how mentally strong he was. He was like, "You're crazy," but it is a workout every day, right? The same way that we work out to get our muscles big. Well, the brain is a muscle, right? And you have to engage it. You have to keep growing it. But like, I don't think the brain grows per se, but you can.
I think engaging it is a great way to describe it.
Yeah,
I mean, you
can
gotta
definitely
keep all those neurons firing and
I mean, you can definitely
challenge your brain so that it's learning and memorizing and doing all of those things.
And I think that there's a point where you can actually probably deteriorate your brain. So I mean, that brain function can be lost.
Yes, that's very true.
And he told me about this place that he had gone. It's called Responsible Living, and this was something that's kind of been fun too. Is we've chatted about all these, like self-help guru. I kept wanting to say health for some reason.
You kept saying self-help.
Self-help. I think it's the coffee.
I don't know what it is. Yours has been spiked with something.
I wish. Not
Self-help
today.
gurus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we see them all online all the time, and they're telling you how to, how they can better you, or take their course, or join their group, or whatever it might be, right? And yeah, that's fine. A lot of them, I think, are hokey.
Some, yeah.
I think a lot of them are hokey, to be
Okay.
honest. I think a lot of them are like a really well thought out pyramid scheme.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because ultimately, they're just trying to get you to,
buy into their stuff.
Well, you buy into theirs,
you
and
make
then
them rich.
Well, and then then you get other people to buy into there. You know what I mean? So, but there are some out there that are doing really good stuff, and they're expensive. But, and I think working on yourself is expensive.
It is.
Right? Whether it's gym or therapy or whatever. BetterHelp is a great way that people go about getting help. But I chose to take this course because it isn't me just talking to a therapist. This is me talking to someone that we're having an honest and open conversation, basically like about she's sharing with me and I'm sharing with her, and she's describing this like almost a 12-step program. So it's like not an AA in a way, because I'm not getting sober, but it's an AA in the sense that there's 12 steps to this program that allow me to engage with my past in different...
You can heal from your past.
Yeah, and in different stages. And I just started, so I'm not going to go crazy in depth. Cause
you just had like your second session
one,
today,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. But in the first couple, it's been real interesting because a couple things have happened that I've kind of already experienced, or I've kind of done. But to have someone walk me through it in a new light has been real interesting. But one of the things we focused on, the very first one, was the brain. And I don't know, I'm always just so interested in learning little things. Like right now I'm not trying to learn big details about anything other than writing.
Yeah.
And myself.
Yeah.
Like
parenting,
my spiritual side, I'm trying to grow things that are immediately affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like trying to like take a course on the brain, right?
Right.
But in this course, we're learning how brain function works. And
Okay.
so I thought today it'd be kind of fun just to, I have a list of brain
like stats.
Yeah. And I didn't Google these, so maybe they're off a little bit, or maybe they're not like, maybe they've changed because I don't know when this
was provided to you by the course.
This was provided to me. So, you know, like anything in the world,
take it with a grain of salt, but it sounds interesting.
Something can be, you know, relearned or expanded upon as time goes on. But I'm going to move this umbrella real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
It shifted on us.
It did. The wind is blowing.
Okay.
And we're back.
And we're live. Hey, backyards and Bevvies.
Hi, how are you? Okay.
Hey.
So,
the
stats. The brain stats.
And it was funny because the other night you came home from work and you actually went to a really cool meeting where you learned stats on another thing. And we both were like, I just dig this stuff because it's so cool when you look at something mathematically.
Yeah.
In a way, like things that you wouldn't assume could be put to a number or, you know, like, there was like a Google thing recently that I saw that they have an equation to how their programs make people happy. And that's how they base a lot of their stuff is through this equation.
Interesting.
I didn't read too deep into it because, again, I was like, oh, that's cool, but wow. So, okay. These are like, some are just put in the terms of like computer stuff because the brain, right, is a giant computer.
Yeah, basically.
Like a big memory stick.
It's a processor, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, for everything, right? I mean, I think.
As far as I know.
Wait, it was happening right there. I was thinking.
There you go.
I was processing. So the average person receives 173,000. Sorry.
Start over. The average person receives 173,000 what?
Negative messages about themselves by the age of 16.
That is awful.
Right, that's 30 per day. So
30 negative messages per day?
Yeah. So and
is that like from outside sources and like thinking negative things about yourself to yourself? Or is that just like straight up from somebody other than you to you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess if you think about it, by age 16, like don't think about this as a 40-year-old or a 30-year-old.
Right.
Think about it as like a 16-year-old. You get a lot of negative stuff given to you, whether it be from a teacher or a parent
or a
other
frenemy.
students. Yeah, like other, you
kids are mean.
Kids, I mean, I think a lot of it is growing up. So nothing can be perfect, right? So,
right.
I mean, like,
but that's a lot.
It is a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, the reason it starts with this is because then later you hear another statistic. The average person receives only 16,000 positive messages about themselves by the age of 16.
Whoa. So how many is that a day?
About 3.
3 versus 30.
Yeah, 3 versus 30.
Yikes.
So that's a big number.
We need to build each other up better.
Well, I think also constructive criticism could be given. I don't know how this is broken apart, but I can only assume that some of it is probably someone trying to give constructive criticism, but doesn't understand how to give proper criticism to something. You know, because I mean, if you're 16 and you're driving erratically, you don't need to be told you're a shitty driver.
No.
You need to be told, hey, when going through this process, this is
what you should do.
This is the proper
of what you just did.
Yeah. So I think that you know, when we think of negativity, you know, we don't always look at negative things in the best light, and that's usually because it's probably given to us in a negative light.
Yeah.
So I don't think that
constructive versus harmful.
Constructive versus harmful.
Yeah.
The brain can store up to 800 memories per second to the age of 75.
800 memories per second?
Per second.
Whoa.
I mean, that's not, you're not making 800 memories, but but that's like, it's talking about the power behind it at this point. The brain computes over 100,000 pieces of data a second for a lifetime.
Wow.
Well, just imagine like just what your eyes have to process.
That's what I was literally just going to say. Like, I mean, I'm looking over your shoulder at the trees that are blowing in the wind. And I mean, there are millions of, like, if you think of it as if it was like pixels on a TV, there's millions of little tiny bits of information that your brain has to process to put together this picture of what you're actually seeing.
Well, like, just, and I heard this with an artist one time talking about drawing just like something as simple as a chair, right, on like a brown surface. Just think about how many different shades technically you're viewing on one surface, and then imagine moving 5 feet. Yeah,
very true.
You know,
or even just a couple inches.
Yeah, because well, for one, it's perspective, right, and then for two, you're everything that is around you, you're processing. And then some people's vision is really wide, other people's is more narrow. Other people are compensating, other people are trying to you know, like the amount there is crazy. So that makes sense. Like, but putting it in a number, you're like, holy cow, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
So then just imagine us like a race car driver going 200 miles an hour trying to process.
Your brain's processing so fast. Yeah.
I think we've brought that
just
up
trying
before
to keep
too, because
up.
It's such a cool thing. Like, strengthening that muscle is and that's why it's important to, as we get older, I've noticed it that, you know, it's not in my best interest to go slam 30 beers and smoke 4 joints and
probably not
eat a handful of you know,
gummies and things.
Gummies and uppers and downers and all the fun stuff. Because then you wake up and you're already cloudy. So you're not processing. Your brain, you have a virus.
You are definitely not operating at full potential.
Yeah, your operating software has now been compromised.
Need an upgrade.
This was a crazy one just because we have little ones, and this is a word I find myself trying not to use, but in the heat of the moment, it's a big one. By the age of 5, a person has heard the word no 40,000 times.
Wow.
Again, I mean, these are not just, these are averages probably.
Yeah.
You know, like, this isn't saying
But still, I mean, that is a lot.
I think I said 30,000 yesterday.
That could be.
I had a rough day, though, yesterday with the little dude. But it was crazy because I had the rough day, and then I read this this morning, hence why we're talking about it. But it really brought light to, you know, and part of this course is not necessarily erasing my past.
No, but it's learning how to cope with it and learn from it.
But it's also learning how, because, like, yeah, I could cope with something the rest of my life, but when something comes up, like the question why, one of my homeworks through this course is not using why. So, like, if something arises, not just going why. Well, why?
Well,
why? It's lazy. It's not. You're not pressuring yourself to actually figure something out. You're just trying to look for an easy. Well, why is that? I don't know why that is. Instead of going, well, maybe that's happening because of this, and you're diving deeper. So I think the same thing. It's like, you know, when the word no is about to come out of my mouth, I was thinking about this morning. Maybe no isn't the word, but maybe like redirecting or, hey, dude, that isn't.
Like, don't do that, please, versus
maybe
no.
Like that isn't beneficial to you. You know, you doing that isn't going to help you. You know, maybe giving a little explanation, even though he doesn't understand.
But still, versus just being like, no.
Yeah, because then he's just getting no. Now, I'm not saying, not like I'm going to use the word no.
Well, of course, you have to. But I think it's good to be conscious of how you use it and when you use it.
Well, and someone that's developing and trying to figure out life as well, that doesn't understand a vast vocabulary yet, you know, if they only hear no all day long, well then you're stunting their vocabulary,
right?
Or you're stunting their growth. So I thought that was pretty cool.
It is very interesting.
The brain needs four. So this is where the big one, the one that I thought was really cool, that from the first two numbers, 30 negative a day
And 3 positive.
3 positives a day. The brain needs 40 positives to neutralize 1 negative.
Wow. So we're not getting anywhere close on a daily basis to neutralizing any of the negatives.
Not if you're in that average situation, yeah. So, I mean, you think about kids that grow up and have issues with things, you start to look at those. Maybe the negative isn't necessarily just negative words. Maybe it was a negative thing they saw. You watch your
negative experience.
You watch your parents beat the shit out of each other. That's a negative right there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And how many negatives inside of that negative.
Right.
So you can get to 30 negatives in
no time.
In a very quick amount of moments watching an action like that, So, I mean, you start to, it starts to really, I think, weigh on a person very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that part of this class has been interesting that way, because it's been almost instantaneous or instantly I realized that to allow myself to move forward, I really have to work this out. Like, I really have to work out my brain. Yeah. I really, really have to exercise the functions that are happening and firing and taking me to places. Because, to, I guess, elaborate on even why I would do this, it's, having kids, it's frustrating. And any person that tells you it's not, then they clearly have a nanny. I mean, it is, there's days of just sheer, not anger, but you're just frustrated.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with, like I just said, a human that
doesn't understand and is trying to learn how to communicate and can't communicate yet.
And it's your job to show them. And I come from the complete opposite. I was alone. Like, and I use alone because I chose to be alone. But like, I was on the road. I was looking out for me. Sure, I looked out for my crew and I looked out for my friends on tour.
But it was mostly you.
But it was mainly me.
Yeah.
Like, I did what I wanted to do. Like, if I didn't want to go to a bar, I didn't go to a bar. If I wanted to go to a bar, I went to a bar. you know, and now I don't have that luxury of just being me. I have this little human and this other little human.
Humans, yeah.
And then I have this big human. And then I have 4 little babies. And then I have a house. And I have all these responsibilities. I'm happier, which is crazy.
Thank goodness.
But that doesn't take away from the things that can arise in my life, like anger or fear or resentment or all the emotions, happiness, sad, glad. But I wanted to know how to manage it. And that's why I went to this course, is because when I talked to my friend, he manages it really well. When you talk to him, you're like, you're a pretty
well-adjusted guy,
put together guy from the background that I know of you. You know, like, I don't know the whole story, but from what I do know, you seem like you have a pretty put together. But we don't. None of us do.
No.
But
it's all outside looking in.
But I do think, though, that this course already I can see where I will benefit from. And it's learning things like this, like learning about, maybe I didn't experience 30 negatives a day for my entire life. But on
average.
But knowing that people do, and knowing that knowing that you can do 30 negatives really quickly. I mean, if I really put my mind to it, I could knock that out in an hour. Yeah.
Very true.
But the positives, and I don't think the positives, like, speaking of only negatives, for instance, the other day we were talking about clapping. Always clapping. And I said, I've kind of don't clap all the time anymore for when he does something good. Because it's not that I'm not trying to encourage him, but there's also, you've already done that. It's time to elaborate more on your life. It's time to learn another thing. And I do think that there's a positive message in there for him that, like, it's a learning curve. Like, you can't get clapped at all day long.
Right.
Like, you can't be happy all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do something, I am going to reward you with
Right.
like a good
Like,
job,
good job.
Or something like
High
that. Yeah,
five.
like high fives. So the positive side to it, I think, is just as important, because I think you can be over positive for things that don't need it necessarily all the time. And then that builds a different human, right?
Right.
Like that builds someone that's like, what do you mean you guys aren't clapping for me?
Right.
Didn't you see me wake up?
Right. Ta-da! I'm here, aren't I?
I got out of bed and put my shoes on today. And it's like,
where's my clapping?
That's not really something that we clap about, you know?
Right.
Or like eating.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's something you should just do.
Mm-hmm.
Like and that is my point. It's not that I don't think there should be no positives and no negatives. I just think that when
a balance.
Well, it's the right words matter, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm learning that when I write.
Mm-hmm.
Words really do matter, and how you string them together matters more.
Mm-hmm.
And then how you build an entire conversation matters even more, right? So it's like, even inside of what we do with this podcast, some may look at it and be like, well, that's kind of simplistic. You just get behind a mic and talk about some junk.
Mm-hmm.
But we're really trying to work something out through the whole thing.
Right.
We're stringing along these functions of words and these paragraphs, and we're trying to have them all become cohesive at the end. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I think, but that's the brain, though. That's where like these memories and these experiences and these things that you and me have both gone through, I think is a really cool, like, it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So reading these stats and then being like, having a little reflection on it, you're like, all right, okay, the brain is kind of...
It's wild.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. Read a couple more.
Okay. Let's learn more about the brain.
Yes, let's learn more about the brain. I'm surprised you're not like sneezing up a storm out here with all the...
I took my Zyrtec this morning. I was prepared.
Let's
Give
see.
it time.
The brain can store 100 trillion words. I don't know if there's 100 trillion words out there, but
I guess maybe across all languages and things.
But I think what they're showcasing is that that's the storage capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like 7 words.
You know more than 7.
Okay, so the brain... Okay, yeah, here's a good one. The brain will store 5 billion bytes of information by 5 years of age.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. But, I mean, it makes sense because by 5, you're doing a lot of the things that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You're eating and drinking by yourself and walking and talking and playing and arguing and, you're doing all of the things. It's
all
just
the things.
As a little one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's...
And you've had to learn all of those processes,
yeah.
And they're compounding processes.
They are, yeah. I mean, it's wild what a kid has to... Like, looking at our kids grow every day, I'm amazed at the growth, even on a small spectrum.
Yeah.
Like, even on simple things. So that's why, like, when I say, like, I don't cheer on, it's not that I'm not cheering on. It's just that it's just exactly what you said. Each day, we're witnessing them just get better and better into functions that they're eventually just going to have to do.
Right.
So that's why it's important
you
not to...
get excited about it, like, the first couple times, and after that, it's like, okay, well... This is just what you're supposed to do now.
This is life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the last thing we want to do is have a 20-year-old going off to college and asking his professors why they're not clapping for him.
Right. Very true. I tied my own shoes today. Why didn't anybody care?
Didn't you see me pick up that Starbucks cup and drink it?
Ta-da!
Duh. Well, since I'm from Texas, I'm going to read this one. If the brain could be duplicated, it would be a computer the size of Texas.
Wow.
And 100 stories high.
Wow.
So I think that's what they're referring to as, like these
like
100 trillion words.
Yeah.
And It is the galaxy. Remember that one time that I told you in the morning it was like 7 a.m. and you're like,
It's too much.
Too much in the morning.
Yeah.
I really do believe that there is a connection when, especially if you read like the Bible and, there's like a part where it says like God created humans in his likeness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not an overage, gray-haired, bearded man sitting in a cloud, right?
Right. Well, I'm sure God's probably not that either, but that's how we imagine him to be.
Well, that's what a lot of people have built him into, is a actual being.
Right.
But I think that's too simplistic. That's the no. That's the why.
Yeah.
The real answer is so great that it takes a lifetime of growth to even, I think, get to a point where you start to say, oh, I kind of get life now.
Uh-huh.
That's why, like, I think most kids go through a phase where they don't believe in something. Mm-hmm. It's easier to be a nihilist and atheist, or at least claim it, because then you really can just do whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But I think as you grow, you start to find meaning in things, and then you start to get curious. And instead of just asking why and having someone give you a simple, well, because that's just the way it always is.
Yeah.
You really expand your mind and you start to take in info that is so grand that there is no answer. Right. Like the universe. And this was back to my point of what I told you that morning, was that I was like, isn't it kind of crazy when you look at like the neurons in the brain, they match like the cloud cluster or the star clusters in the universe, and you're like, okay. And I was like, what if? And you're like, stop.
Too much. Too early.
You're
have not had any caffeine yet.
Yeah. And I think, but those are those like correlations that we make in life, where you look at, there's that function of like a seashell. It's the same function of a leaf. It's the same function of a hair. Like it has of a cell, in the way that it's built. It's the Fibonacci sequence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you just can't. The brain's too big.
It's pretty incredible.
And to say that it was just magic, that we have this thing, this supercomputer in our head. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Yeah. So, I'm not trying to get into like a religious conversation here, but it is beautiful when you start to look at these numbers and these stats, and then you start to realize, well, maybe it is important that I take care of my brain. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that taking care of is not only like, it's like eating somewhat healthy. Like I'm never going to preach to anybody about eating, because I eat chicken nuggets and French fries.
They're delicious.
Like a 5-year-old still. So,
well, we have littles, so.
But even then, I still like, even at the healthiest, I think I still love to eat pizza and ice cream and shit like that. So there's no way that I'm going to preach a 100% balanced diet.
Right.
But I think you can offset things in life by doing other things, right? So I get up early and I work out for that reason. Right. And same with this. Like I go through a lot of stuff mentally. So the only way to offset that is to dive into my subconscious, my conscious, my who knows what else, everything. Mm-hmm. So I thought that would be a fun episode. This has been a fun episode because we've discussed, this kind of shit.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me very much of Jerry Maguire and the little boy, and he's like, "Do you know the human head weighs 8 pounds?" or whatever it is that he says. Yeah. It's so cute. But it makes me think of that because it's like, facts like this that you don't hear. Yeah. Normally very often. You're like, wow, like that is pretty mind-blowing to think of what my brain is capable of doing would equate to the largest supercomputer ever created. Right. And every single one of us has that capacity and that possibility to use.
And to be honest, we probably haven't even tapped into a quarter of it.
Anywhere close, yeah.
And I think Elon gets really deep with this stuff when he talks about like Neuralink and how he wants to try to bridge the brain and a computer, because that's that limitless pill that everybody's looking for.
Right.
That's
a whole nother conversation.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's so deep. Well, the other day, remember I brought up the whole thing with like living in the white, the black, or the gray, and Joe Rogan was talking about like, well, I live in the gray because like I have faith in people. I'm not a nihilist where everything's bad.
Right.
But I do believe that like the God, right? God could hand down another giant asteroid that could wipe out the world, or a super volcano, or whatever it may be, right? And we started going down that thing that there's just no hard evidence to so many things in life that are tangible that you can see, and it's that leaves that open discussion of like, well, like maybe God is just rolling through these cycles of humans and allowing them to build themselves up and see if they can hold on to it, and then it's
time to start over.
Because he was talking about it from the pyramids, because
that's right.
the stones that they used are so big and so heavy. No one has been able to figure out how they moved them from 500 miles away.
Yeah, that's.
And
who
he
knows?
was saying that's humans. Humans figured out that. Or aliens.
Oh, yeah, or somebody else.
Or the other, but someone figured that science and that out, and now it's the human brain power.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest part about it. And so we'll leave it at this. If you have a brain, which you probably do.
You do. You definitely do.
If you're listening to us, you have a brain.
You have a brain,
and
yeah.
it's functioning.
Yep.
Take care of it. Don't be embarrassed. I think a lot of us live to the stereotype that our parents or maybe our grandparents put in us. Like, if you go to a therapist, you're suddenly something's wrong with you, or if you talk to someone, something's wrong with you. But I don't think that it's like that. I think that actually, to have someone cross-section you the same way that you would have a mole looked at. All you're doing is giving yourself the advantage eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not today, but if you did it for a year, just imagine the results.
Yeah.
This is a 10-week program that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like a 2-course, like.
No, yeah.
This is you have to dedicate time to things.
Yeah. Well, when you're done with the course, we'll have to give everybody an update on how you feel and what you learned.
I can already tell you that if it's going the way I think it is, I'll feel way better. And I even told her going into it, I was like, I don't know what I'm expecting. So
awesome.
Cool. Great talk.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bottoms up. Make sure to go try out your Good Citizen Coffee Co. Nashville proud, Tennessee.
Yee.
It's so weird that I don't yell Texas anymore.
Nope. Tennessee.
The great country of Texas.
Great state of Tennessee. Have a good one, everybody.
Love you. Thank you. Cheers and bottoms up.